Did Tommy DeVito call out Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, and the New York Football Giants? We're going to unpack that on today's video as you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Marshall Green. Tommy DeVito thinks he deserves to be on the Giants' 53-man roster as they cut it down from 90 going into the regular season. And you know what? I agree with DeVito. He has earned the right to be on this team. But I don't know if I love the quotes that he's got coming out that he said to ESPN. This is what he said, quote, "Yeah, asking if he's going to make the team. Yeah, we're not having this conversation for sure if I was a third-round pick. But at the end of the day, like I said, control what you can control. Keep the chip on my shoulder and keep working." Everyone has always been overlooked. And it's kind of the same deal I was in last year. I know the offense now, and I've been in some situations before, looking forward to doing it again. And you know what? I agree with a lot of what Tommy DeVito just said in that quote. And Tommy, he played well enough to get a spot. If you had a quarterback on a rookie contract and he played 9 games for you, he had 6 starts, and he goes 3-3, and he's named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for a primetime performance against the Green Bay Packers, every single franchise would bring him back because he's a cheap, cost-controlled quarterback that has proven he can step in and a spot start and produce and win games. And he had some big-time moments for the Giants. Completed 64% of his passes in 9 games, over 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he didn't really have much time back there as he was sacked 37 times. And I think you can make the argument that DeVito may have been the best quarterback last year. I thought Tyrod Taylor played the best. My eyes told me that. But the fact that it's even a conversation of who played better, Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones, or Tyrod Taylor, I think that alone gives Tommy a spot with his name written in Sharpie in the 53-man roster. My parents told me this growing up. Life's not always fair. It isn't. And especially not in sports. Sports are not fair. Life is not fair. Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, they are going to make this team. $5 million paid for Drew Lock. We know how much Daniel Jones is making it. And the only way I see the Giants keeping 3 quarterbacks is the only way I see Tommy DeVito making this roster is if they keep 3 quarterbacks. In Joe Schoen's era as a GM, he kept 2 QBs in 2022. He kept 2 QBs in 2023. But could the Giants be keeping 3 quarterbacks with the Daniel Jones injury concerns? Coming off an ACL, we know the neck injury. So many backup quarterbacks played last year. Maybe the Giants do keep 3 QBs this time around. And I think that definitely could be a possibility. But that's the only way that he would end up making this roster. He's not making it over Daniel Jones. He's not making it over Drew Lock. He will have to compete to make this roster. And if he does, he will be QB3, where he may be inactive for most games. That's just the only way I see him making it, is that they keep 3 QBs. And you might need to do that with an injured quarterback and how we saw last year how many quarterbacks went down. And honestly, Giants would put themselves in a good spot if they do keep Tommy DeVito. I've got more thoughts about this around the corner, but I want to hear from all the real ones in the comments before I give my final takes on this. Does Tommy DeVito make the Giants' 53-man roster? What do you think? Does he make the final 53? He says he deserves it. And he says if he's a third-round pick, it wouldn't even be a question. And I kind of agree with that to an extent. But also, as a backup QB, supposed to be out of sight, out of mind. And I'm worried that Tommy DeVito, the legend, has grown so much, he's played himself out and, quite frankly, maybe talked himself out of a backup role. I don't know. Maybe I'm just over-investigating. Y for yes and for no, does DeVito make the Giants' 53-man roster? I'm sure if you put Joe Schoen up to a lie detector and you told him, what is your ideal outcome for Tommy DeVito this year going into the Giants is, they cut him, he clears waivers, and then you're able to bring him back to the practice squad. But I don't see a world where if the Giants do cut Tommy DeVito, A, he resigns to your practice squad because he probably feels disrespected and knows he doesn't have a shot to be a part of this team's long-term future at the quarterback position. And B, I don't see 31 other teams thinking that their QB2 is better than Tommy DeVito. He went 3-3 as a starter in his rookie year as a UDFA with the worst offensive line in the league and question marks at the playmaker position. There are not, I don't think, 64 QBs better than Tommy DeVito right now. So I don't see if the Giants cut him coming back to the practice squad or being available. But I do want to say this about Tommy DeVito. Man, I love the dog he's got. I love the competitive spirit he has. I love the mindset that he has. Because as an athlete who is in a spot that he is in, and he's not gifted with elite traits, he doesn't have a top 10 arm, he doesn't have top 10 feet, doesn't have top 10 mobility. But if you're going to be an underdog, and you're going to have to prove it, you got to have a mindset of it's me versus the world. And that's exactly what Tommy DeVito has, and that is why I will always respect him as a competitor. He said this to ESPN, quote, "I was never worried. Everything happens for a reason. I showed what I could do on the field. Obviously, there are highs and lows, but to be a rookie thrown into it, it's a tough deal. I try to make the most of it and then control what I can control." Tommy DeVito is an easy guy to root for a lot of different reasons, right? The hometown kid, the hometown legend. Went to college at Illinois but finished at Syracuse. Or maybe I have that backwards. Went to a local college. A lot of people can relate to him. He was really the shining light with this through a very dark time of last year's season. He's very relatable, and he's a competitor. And he kind of embodies what it means to be a New Yorker. Against all odds, prove them wrong, prove yourself right, and do whatever it takes. And when you get that opportunity, run with it. And you know what? I can never knock a guy for that. Even if I don't think he's a great quarterback, I'll always respect the hustle and competitor that he is. More thoughts about DeVito and Daniel Jones around the corner. But first, make sure you are hooked up with our proud sponsor by going to chatsports.com/Burns and getting a Brian Burns jersey for the regular season. They've got blue, they've got white. Soon they will have the 100th Century Red jerseys. Get yours today, so it's here by week 1. If you're going to buy any Giants jersey, my suggestion would be Burns or Dexter Lawrence. I can promise you those two guys will be on the team for at minimum this season and next season. Chatsports.com/Burns. Link is clickable in the comments and description of today's show. If I was the general manager for the New York Football Giants, and I am actually changing my mind here, so flip-flop marsh. I would keep Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock as well as Daniel Jones. I would keep 3 quarterbacks on this roster. Maybe that means you go short on a running back who you can return Gary Brightwell to your practice squad if you want. You don't want to be in a spot where you keep 2 quarterbacks, Daniel Jones gets hurt again, then Drew Lock is inserted in the starting lineup, and you don't have a backup quarterback. I would keep DeVito and Lock because we can't ignore Daniel Jones' injury guarantee as well as his injury history. He's had 2 major neck injuries. He's now had a major knee injury. The data tells me he's probably going to get hurt again. And if the Giants start 0-2, if the Giants start 0-3, you got Minnesota, Washington. Then you got Cleveland, Cowboys, Seattle, Bengals, Eagles, Steelers. That's 6 games against 5 playoff teams, and the only one that's not a playoff team from last year is the Bengals, and that's because Joe Burrow got hurt. You can't forget about the injury guarantee. We saw Denver bench Russell Wilson because of his injury guarantee. We saw the Las Vegas Raiders bench Derek Carr for his injury guarantee. If the Giants start the season slow, there's going to be people up in that front office saying, are we going to run the risk of just losing games and having Daniel Jones get hurt and putting him on the books for $23 million next year? That's something that they're going to juggle, and I think it makes that decision a little easier if you have Locke and DeVito as your game day active quarterbacks. This might be a surprise to some people. Even though I don't think Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback and people are calling me a hate account on Twitter for Daniel Jones because I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, even though I don't think DJ is a franchise quarterback and will ever win a Super Bowl, if he is our starting quarterback week 1, I will be rooting for him. I hope you guys know that because I'm a Giants fan. And the best way for the Giants to be successful in 2024 is that this guy, Daniel Jones, has his best year of his career. The fastest way for the Giants to get back on track, the fastest way for the Giants to compete in the NFC East is for Daniel Jones to be a good quarterback. And we saw him have success managing games and winning games and even a playoff game in 2022. No matter what I think about him, it doesn't matter. He is my franchise's quarterback, and I would never root for anyone on the Giants to fail. Am I rooting for him to not be good? Absolutely not. I am rooting for him to win games. And the fastest way for them to be good, in my opinion, is for him to actually be a good quarterback. That's just my opinion on that. Some injury news for Daniel Jones. This is good news. We're recording this video on Monday. Giants just wrapped up their first OTA session, and Daniel Jones participated in 7-on-7 drills. Tore his ACL in Week 9, and he's participating in 7-on-7 drills here in May. So quick turnaround, and I actually think he's going to be ready to go Week 1. I do. I think he'll be ready to go Week 1. We might even see him in the preseason. I say all that to say, though, this is Daniel Jones' last chance. This is his last chance. He has a cap relief of almost $20 million if you cut him after this season. If he doesn't play well and he doesn't stay healthy and he doesn't win games, it's going to be his last chance of the year, of his career, to be honest with you, to be the Giants' starting quarterback. What's your confidence level in Daniel Jones? What's your confidence level in Daniel Jones? Scale 1 to 10. 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident. 10, you got all the trust in the world in him. Let me know what you think, and make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Hit me up over there. Give me a follow, and let's go Big Blue.